So what do? Grover takes out Medusa's head and holds it up and turns the Hydra to stone. Next morning, the docent wakes up and is like, who broke in and built this here? Welcome back, readers. I'm Robin. I'm your uncle. I don't know what's going on. I'm going through it with my hair, you guys. I'm not convinced. I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna go back to purple. I'm not sure. I'm not feeling it. Do you love Greek mythology? Do you wonder about what kind of new stories we could come up with using the Greek gods? I didn't know I was until I read today's pick, The Lightning Thief. The Lightning Thief is the first installment in the series Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is an incredibly popular book series by Rick Riordan, better than other fantasy series, if you know what I'm talking about, which I'm not going to mention here. Percy Jackson is a young boy of age 12. 12? Right, 12. He's a kid with good values who constantly finds himself getting into trouble. He fights bullies, he causes property damage, he plays with dangerous animals. He loves his mother deeply and has never met his father, who was lost at sea when his mom was pregnant with him. Now that's what the book is about. The movie? I have not seen a movie adaptation this bad in a hot minute. It's unlike anything I've seen since Death Note. I know that there was a lot of outrage when the movies came out. There were a lot of fans who were incredibly upset, and surprisingly, there's more than one. This week, I watched Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, for the first time. Okay, it's gonna be a long one, I can tell. So strap in. We're going to dip a toe
Dip the toe.
in the cinematic universe of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. First of all, that title is long. Just call it The Lightning Thief. Preface this right now, I am not going to be able to enumerate how many ways that this movie is different from the book. You can just think of it as a different IP because honestly, it's so tangentially similar that it's not even worth mentioning. I will talk about some plot points that I think are either interesting or important, but for the most part, if you're expecting this to resemble the book in any way, you are going to be disappointed. Okay, so here we go. A giant man comes out of the ocean holding a trident. Oh my god, is that Owen from Grey's Anatomy? Is he British? So he shrinks and he changes clothes from this like Greek Roman style plate armor to a hoodie and a pea coat. A hoodie? Really? So he goes to the top of the Empire State Building and meets Sean Bean. Sean Bean, playing Zeus. So Owen, or rather this dude, is Poseidon. Zeus says that his lightning has been stolen. So Zeus accuses Poseidon of having his son steal his master bolt. He gives Poseidon a 2-week deadline to return it, or else he is going to wage war on him. So we meet 16-year-old Percy sitting at the bottom of the pool. Apparently he's been holding his breath for 7 minutes. 7 minutes? Is that what 7 minutes in heaven is about? You sit at the bottom of the pool and then drown? So he's in school, and the teacher in English class calls upon him, asking him to read the board, but he's dyslexic, so he can't read it. He goes home, and we meet his stepdad, played by that guy who was in The Matrix and in Memento. He always kind of plays a douche nozzle. Anyway, it's the same here. They don't like each other. I have absolutely no plan as to what I'm going to do with my eye makeup, so we're going to go on this journey together. Let's start with this. Start with some brown. Brown's good. He's like really disrespectful to the mom. So Percy is like, why do you put up with this? And the mom is like, oh, he's been really good to us. Whatever that means. So it's time for a school field trip. So as he's going into the museum, he hears a voice in his head telling him, Percy, everything is about to change. So he goes in, and he's listening to his teacher, Mr. Brunner. Oh my god, I used to have that exact same hat. Wait, can I find a picture? There you go. This movie is so 2000s. So they're talking about the Greek gods, and Brunner asks Percy to name a demigod other than Hercules and Achilles. By the way, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. Hercules is the name that the Romans gave him. His name in Greek mythology is Heracles. I don't understand why they can't just call him Heracles. It's about the Greek gods, but okay. His teacher is played by 007. Pierce Brosnan. Otherwise known as the guy who got a kiwi thrown at his head in Mrs. Doubtfire. Anyway, so he reads the ancient Greek somehow and sees that the depicted scene is of Perseus defeating Cetus. But he says Perseus? Is it Perseus or Perseus? Have I been saying it wrong this whole time? Anyway, that's his namesake. He's named after Perseus, or Perseus, I guess. It looks very brown. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna blend it out a little bit. So I used to play this game a lot when I was a kid called Eco Quest Search for Cetus. You were looking for the sort of like god of the sea called Cetus, and it turns out that he's a whale. Spoiler alert from 1991. It was a Sierra game. Do you guys remember Sierra games? They were fun. I really liked Al Lowe. He wrote a lot of the games that I played, including Torrance Passage, which was my personal favorite, and Leisure Suit Larry, which I could take or leave. My mom let me play Leisure Suit Larry as a child because it's a video game. It must be for children. It's got cartoons in it. Whoops! So the English substitute, Mrs. Dodds, pulls him aside, and she turns into this weird, like, six-winged bird bat thing and tells him to give her the lightning bolt. Brunner and Grover burst in, and Brunner tells her to leave or else he's gonna destroy her, and for some reason that makes her actually leave. I also failed to mention that Brunner's in a wheelchair, so both of these people are disabled. Not for anything, but it's gonna kind of come back later. I liked that the two of the first characters that we meet are disabled, supposedly, because it's nice to have representation, although we'll soon see that they're not as disabled as we think that they are. But in a world where things are not made for you, you're still disabled, yeah? So Percy is confused and he's like, what the heck was that? And they tell him that it was a fury. So in the book, Percy defeats her by cutting her in half rather than just like scaring her off. Now, Furies, as you may know, are emissaries of the god of the underworld, Hades. So Brunner gives Percy a pen and tells him that it's a powerful weapon, but he doesn't tell him what the weapon is or how to use it. In the book, he immediately throws him this pen that turns into a sword, and he knows that it's a sword because you can see that it's a sword. But here it's just like, here's a pen, dude. Pen's mightier.
The penis mightier.
Like, what the fuck is he supposed to do with that? Write a poem at him? So Grover tells Percy they need to go to his house, and he reveals that he's actually Percy's protector. And Percy says some ableist shit.
My protector? Are you kidding? You have crutches.
They go home and they tell Sally, the mom, that they need to leave right away. And she asks no questions. She supposedly knows exactly what's up. Gabe, the husband, is not having it. He wants her there to like wait on him hand and foot. So Grover attacks him with his crutches and he goes down like a rock. So as they're driving towards a place where we're not sure where they're going, Sally explains that Percy's dad had to leave and didn't want to, and he loved Percy, but he's a god, essentially. In the book, he decided to leave because that's what gods do. They reproduce and then they leave. That's kind of their thing. As Sally is about to explain whatever cockamamie reason that his father left, a cow falls onto their car. Poor cow. Incidentally, this reminds me about a service online. I am not sponsored by them, but I love them. It's called doesthedogdie.com. You can put in your preset triggers and see whether a movie that you're going to watch is going to set them off. So Grover takes his pants off, an opportune time to do that, I guess. But the reason he does that is because he actually has goat legs. He is a satyr. Now, when I was a young warthog, when I was a young person, I used to think that satyr was pronounced satyr. The reason I thought it was pronounced satyr is because a satyr, Passover Seder, is like the meal that we have where we talk about bondage. Passover just ended last week, which is why I took a week off, because it was a lot of work, y'all.
That was a lot, Robin.
Anyway, so he is a satyr, and he kicks the back window open. Oh yeah, when the cow fell on the car, it like rolled. So he kicks the back window to try to open it so that they can get out, because they are being chased by a minotaur.
I am the Minotaur!
Minotaur!
So they start running through the forest away from this Minotaur. They arrive at this archway that is written Camp Half-Blood, but Mom can't get inside because she is mortal. So Percy tries to save his mom by using the sword, which you have to click it and then it turns into a pen. Wait, no, opposite. That was the opposite. It's a pen that you click and it turns into a sword. So the Minotaur picks up Percy's mom, and Percy risks his life to try to save her, but unfortunately, he squishes her into dust. So they're right at the entrance to the gate. The Minotaur can't get them inside, and the mom's already gone. So what does he do? Rather than going inside the camp to safety, he decides to fight the Minotaur. Anyway, so he defeats it and then he faints. So here is where the movie starts to go off the rails. So Percy wakes up in the infirmary. The infirmary to what, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. He is in the infirmary to Camp Half-Blood. Grover says that he is Percy's protector. He says he's a junior protector, so he doesn't have his horns yet, which doesn't make sense. So he is like meant to help Percy until he gets his horns, I guess. I don't know. So they take a tour of the camp where Grover has him walking in front of a bunch of archers. Ah, yes, archery, my old nemesis. And then Grover gives them shit for almost hitting them. It's like, dude, it's a shooting range. Why are you walking in front of us at all? So everyone in camp, for the most part, is a demigod, meaning they have one human parent and one god parent. Demi meaning half, god meaning god. So Percy says some more ableist bullshit about how he's a loser because he has dyslexia. So as someone with ADHD, I'm here to say that you're not a loser, and I don't know why that's a moral that we would like people to take, because anyone who's watching this who isn't a demigod might feel like a loser because the main character of the story is telling them that they are. Not great, Percy Jackson. It turns out that he has ADHD because he needs to be battle ready. You know, he perceives a lot more stuff than other people do, and he needs to have quick reflexes. And he has dyslexia because he is hardwired to read ancient Greek, not English. In the book, all demigods have this trait. So Percy sees a pretty girl.
There's the girl that I like.
She must be really good because she makes people stop in midair. All jokes aside, the fighting in this movie, it reminds me a lot of the Goes Wrong show.
Calm down, Knight!
So they come across a group of centaurs, and Brunner, 007, is one of them. So his name's actually Chiron from Greek mythology. They don't explain in the movie why he was in a wheelchair, but basically his wheelchair is like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside.
Bigger on the inside.
I'm using bronzer instead of contour, and I don't have a lot of experience, so please be gentle. So his horse body goes into it and kind of vanishes. So Chiron brings him to a bunk, I guess. It's like a cabin with no walls, and he says that it was built for him by his father. And based on the giant trident that he finds, he figures out that his father is Poseidon. Yeah, Owen from Grey's Anatomy. In the book, there's like a lot of sort of hullabaloo to try to figure out who Percy's dad really is, because they're supposed to wait for a sign for them to be claimed by their parents. So apparently Percy's mom was with Gabe, the douche nozzle, because she was trying to mask Percy. Apparently Gabe smells so bad that it masks his scent from anyone who might want to hurt him. Okay, that's a little heavy-handed on the bronzer. Looking at Percy's face makes me want to redo those eyebrows. I mean, my eyebrows aren't even these days, but they don't even go in the same direction. So Chiron says he needs to train, but then he needs to go see Zeus and convince him that he did not steal the lightning bolt. So Percy wants to go right away, but Chiron's like, no, you have to train for no reason. So it's time to play Capture the Flag. We meet Luke, the camp leader, apparently, and He is son of Hermes, messenger of the gods. Actually, I don't hate this. I'm not used to putting on bronzer, but I don't hate it. I was a little heavy-handed, but I think it blended out okay. Percy finds that he is able to sword fight for no reason, and he goes toward the flag. And Annabeth is there, and she handily kicks his ass, but he is able to heal himself with the water. And suddenly he is just attacking people left, right, and center, and he is winning hard. And so eventually he just goes up and takes the flag, and everyone on the blue team is very excited. Yay. But uh-oh, you made the girl that you like mad. She is daughter of Athena, goddess of wisdom and war tactics. So that night, they are having this like feast, and everyone is treating Percy like he's a king. In the book, they treat him like the outcast that he basically is. You know, he's the only child of one of the big three that's still alive. But here, no, everyone thinks he's a hero. They think he's like super cool. So Annabeth comes over and negs him a bit, and he's like, why don't you like me? And she's like, well, our parents are enemies. And he's like, okay. But he doesn't have a lot of time to unpack that because Hades shows up looking like the Christian devil, which makes no damn sense. So Hades calls out Percy. He throws the slowest fireball I've ever seen. So he tells Percy that he has his mother, that he like kidnapped her. So she's not really dead. He tells Percy to bring the lightning bolt and he will let his mother go. Let my mother go. So Percy decides, all right, well, I need to go to the underworld. And Chiron's like, no, don't do that. You still need to meet with Zeus because Zeus is going to start a war. He goes, well, why don't I just go see Hades and convince Hades that I didn't steal the bolt, and then he'll let my mom go, and, you know, Bob's your uncle. And Chiron is like, I don't think that's a good idea. So Percy decides to leave anyway. And Grover, of course, follows him because he's his protector, right? That's the deal. That's the job. And Annabeth catches him leaving, and she's like, I've only been in the human world a couple of times. I would love the opportunity to go on like a real quest. And he's like, all right. So who knows how to get to Hades? I'm going to use the term Hades and the underworld interchangeably because they are used interchangeably essentially. So because Luke is Hermes' son, Annabeth assumes that he would know how to get in and out of the underworld because his dad has done it. So they go to see Luke in his like tent, and Luke decides to give them a couple of things. First of all, he gives them a pair of his dad's shoes because he said he stole them from his dad. He's got tons of pairs. In the book, he gets it like as a gift from his dad, but here he has like no relationship to his father. And he gives them a map. Now the map brings them to different places in the US because Persephone, who is Hades' like sort of slave girlfriend, has lovers who come and meet her in the underworld while she's stuck there for like half of the year. And in order to get into Hades, that's not really the problem. The problem is getting out. So she has left pearls all over the world for people to grab. Essentially, they can bring you anywhere that you want. So if you go into Hades with them, to leave, you just smash the pearl and you go, oh, I want to go to Disneyland or something. It doesn't make sense that Persephone has pearls. They should have been pomegranate seeds, but I digress. The whole thing with the pearl is like, it's because it's one of Poseidon's emissaries that brings it to Percy. Pearls come from the ocean. It makes more sense. They need 3 pearls because there's 3 of them. So Luke doesn't explain why he has this magical map, which seems like it was stolen from something else. Before they go, Luke gives Percy his favorite shield for like good luck or something. And the first place that they have to go to is Auntie M's Garden Emporium. So off they go. They arrive at Auntie M's, and while they're there, they steal some drachma from a fountain because sure, we can just steal stuff now, right? We're on a quest, so we can just do whatever we want. And Annabeth, while looking around, gets accosted by someone who is overacting the shit, saying, she got my husband. At the same time, Grover finds a satyr a statue of a satyr. It looks just like his Uncle Ferdinand, but then he realizes that his Uncle Ferdinand was killed by, you guessed it, Medusa. Auntie M. You get it? So we meet Medusa, played by Uma Thurman, of all people. And she is overacting her little butt off, like most of the people in this movie. So Medusa is wearing like a turban type head covering and sunglasses. And when she takes them off, she becomes deadly. In the book, she's wearing a niqab. So she doesn't really attack anyone. She just kind of goes up to them, particularly in this case, Annabeth, and is like, look me in the eye. Go on, sneak a peek. But she doesn't like do anything to them other than that. But this works on Crazy Lady. She opens an eye and there she goes. She's now stoned forever. I'd like to be stoned forever. So Medusa goes after Percy and tries to get him to open his eyes. So somehow, in the interim of when Medusa is chasing Percy, Annabeth finds a car and drives with her eyes closed. So Medusa gets hit by the car and Percy cuts her head off and she is defeated. Beheaded, defeated. So if I really wanted to go for the like Greek look, I would give myself a unibrow, but I'm not doing that. But I am gonna give myself big old thick eyebrows. Grover comes out of the car and his mouth and his words don't match.
Great.
They take Medusa's head and wrap it up in a shirt, and then they grab the pearl, which is around her wrist. So, pearl number 1, obtained. Stop number 2, the Parthenon in Nashville. There's like a Parthenon, like a replica. So they head off to Nashville and they go inside this museum, and there's a big statue of Athena inside. And they notice that Athena has a pearl on her headdress. So they hide out in the men's bathroom until closing. You mean to tell me that you took up 3 stalls in the men's bathroom and nobody noticed? I mean, if you're in the women's, they've got tons of stalls, but the men have to use the stall for, you know, business. So they go outside and see a bunch of maintenance workers, and Annabeth shoots them all with darts. She's like, oh, it won't kill them, but one of them is like 10 feet up on a ladder and he falls down on a marble thing. Like, you could have cracked his head open. So Percy puts the shoes on and starts flying about the room and is finally able to get the pearl. However, it looks like the maintenance workers have woken up and they turn into a Hydra. What? I don't understand this. Were they always humans and then they just got co-opted? Or were they always each part of a Hydra? Are they all different heads? I don't get it. But anyway, they become a Hydra. So Percy flies up and cuts all of the Hydra's heads off. Yay, it's defeated, right?
Relax. It's only halftime.
I feel like the most egregious part of this is that Percy has no idea about any kind of Greek mythology. I mean, even if you have just like the basest amount of knowledge about Greek mythology, you should at least know what the Hydra is. She even says it's a Hydra out loud. So Percy uses the water from the water fountains to create like a wall between them and the Hydra, but they're not able to get out because the door is locked. So what do? Grover takes out Medusa's head and holds it up and turns the Hydra to stone. Next morning, the docent wakes up and is like, who broke in and built this here? So the next stop is the Lotus Casino in Las Vegas. Oh yeah. I'm actually surprised that they included this part. It was such a blip in the book, but I'm glad that they did because it was a fun one. So they go inside, and I gotta admit, this place is sick. There's like an indoor roller coaster. There's obviously all this kind of gambling, beautiful women, beautiful people. It kind of reminds me of Lotte World in Korea. They're offered lotus flowers and it gets them high. They start to play Gaga's Poker Face just to really beat us over the head with the Vegas of it all. And they decide to stay. I'm pretty sure in the book there's no lotus flowers when we get to this section, but it's more fleshed out, which is shocking. So I'm actually happy that they did that. So they all decide that they're going to have fun, which they express solely with eyebrows. So they gamble, they get spa treatments. Grover, no, what are you doing? Don't put that nail polish on your feet. I think pink would be better. I'm kidding. Do whatever color you want. So Grover is suddenly wearing a trilby, so you know things have broken bad. It's time for one of Robin's tangents. The trilby is often called a fedora by people who are not understanding the difference between the two. This is a fedora. This is a trilby. This is something that was pioneered by women, worn by Frank Sinatra, and in films like Casablanca, very classy. This is a trilby worn by Redditors and neckbeards. Get them right. Trilby is not a fedora. So Percy goes to eat his dozenth flower. Here's his father's voice warning him for the first time. Not when they came in, but like way later, okay? So he decides not to eat it and he goes looking around. And he sees a guy that looks like he's like right out of Woodstock. And the guy's playing pinball. So he says that the movie that the pinball game is based on is the best movie that came out this year. And Percy's like, what year is that? And he goes, 1971. Percy realizes that in this place, time is an illusion.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
So this kind of triggers the servers to each come up to him and offer him a flower more and more aggressively. And then he spots the last pearl. It's on the roulette table. I can't go into casinos. I can't be trusted. Did you know that some mental health drugs cause gambling addiction? Because I didn't look into it. Anyway, they keep trying to push lotus flowers on him and he becomes more and more annoyed until finally one of the security guards messages the other and says, Percy Jackson is awake. So Percy meets up with his contemporaries and he kind of snaps them out of it right as the security guards are closing in on them. So they all kick some ass and Percy steals the last pearl. They have to escape, so they go into the win this car.
Do you come with a car?
Oh, you.
So they keep the key in the car because it's a movie, and they speed on out of there. And suddenly Grover's goat legs aren't a problem. He can drive like a stunt driver. In the book, they just calmly walk out. Percy realizes that time works differently, and they all just kind of leave. Annabeth explains that that was the lair of the Lotus Eaters, like in the Odyssey. While they're driving, they see a sign that says June 21st, which means that their deadline is now tomorrow. So the last stop on their magical map, the entrance to Hades, Hollywood. Specifically, the Hollywood sign. Meanwhile, all over the world, storm clouds are gathering. They're getting more and more dense. Zeus is pissed. So it turns out that the entrance to the underworld is behind the Hollywood sign. Is that what the D in Hollywood stands for? Devil?
Until their diabolically displaced D is demonstrably displayed once more. Can we cool it with the alliteration? Who wrote this copy?
So they go inside and they meet the ferryman. He's the guy who plays Death on Supernatural. This guy has made a name for himself by just playing skinny characters. Good for him. So Grover, realizing that you have to pay the ferryman, right, goes up to him and hands him 170 American dollars. That's Benjamin, Grant, and Jackson. That's 170, right? You Americans think that everyone uses your currency. I mean, you're right. But that window is closing. Come on now, by context, you must know that he wants drachma. So they give him Chekhov's drachma, and they're off. In the underworld, it's all fire and brimstone. Again, it's very Christy. In Greek mythology, the underworld is dark. It's sort of almost transparent. Not like fire and brimstone like in friggin' Revelations. So they're passing over the river Styx, and in the book, they use the word Styx as an expletive, which I love. And I really wish that they had used that here. It's like, Styx. It's great. I'm using it. So the ferryman takes them over the river Styx and they see a lot of trash. The ferryman calls it scrap heaps of human misery. Charming. It's like hopes and dreams and wishes that never came true. I'm pretty sure this is in the book, which is why I actually enjoyed this part. They arrive in Hades' castle? What do they see when they enter? More fire. Who is your interior decorator? So they all get accosted by these, they look like animals as depicted by Renaissance painters who have never seen animals. Apparently they're hellhounds. Why are they called hellhounds? This is not hell. In the book, there's Cerberus, the three-headed dog, and there's this whole cute thing where he like bonds with Annabeth. That's not here, just two weird-ass looking hellhounds. So here we meet Persephone, played by that woman who was in Death Proof and Clerks 2. I'm sorry, I was so drained after watching this movie. It took me 3 tries, and I had to watch it in shifts, that I just don't have any more energy to look up these people's names. And I hope you understand. Moving on. Why is she here? It's spring. She should be on Earth. So she hardcore flirts with Grover. If you recall, people come here to canoodle with Persephone. So, you know, she's kind of greeting them with that energy. So Hades threatens Persephone from the other room. And she's like, what could you do to me? You already have me here as prisoner. So they meet Hades. And he's played by the guy who is the director in Tropic Thunder, who blows up when he steps on a mine. Spoilers for Tropic Thunder. He's dressed like me in my 20s. I should dress like this again. It's nice. Hades very kindly asks for the lightning bolt, and Percy says the truth. He doesn't have it. He never had it. So Hades is like, well, then why did you come? Exactly. It makes no sense. So he doesn't believe Percy, so he smashes a bone circle cage, and out materializes Percy's mother. So he runs to his mom and drops his shield in the process. And so Hades threatens to kill his mom, but oh, hold on. The lightning bolt is in the shield. Hades picks up the bolt, and there's some like really clunky exposition.
He put the bolt in his shield and used us.
Luke stole the lightning bolt.
Luke stole the lightning bolt. Yes, we get it. He obviously. There is this whole thing in the book about Hermes' shoes. So, okay. Zeus isn't a fan of Percy's, right? For multiple reasons, but one of which being he thinks that he stole his lightning bolt, right? So when Luke gives him the shoes, he decides that it's not a good idea for him to put them on because the skies are Zeus's domain, so he gives them to Grover. Now Grover, because he has cloven hooves and not feet, when they get to Hades, they approach this pit that is essentially the opening to Tartarus, or Tartarus, whichever you want to call it, which is where Kronos is. More on Kronos later. But what happens is that the shoes suddenly start to speed towards the opening of Tartarus, but they pop off of Grover's feet because they're not, really tied on that securely because he doesn't really have feet. So yeah, Hades picks up the Master Bolt and tells Persephone to feed him to the souls. So this grate opens up and these like fiery human demon soul things come out, and then the demon dogs start to like back them into the corner, and they have a deal. He said the lightning bolt for his mom. Okay. Persephone kisses Hades and steals the bolt and hits him with it. And she's like, he won't remember a thing. How do you know that? Because apparently Hades wants to wage war on Zeus. Persephone says that she would be stuck in the underworld with him forever. And she looks forward to the half of the year where she gets to go and be in nature. And so she gives Percy the bolt to return to Zeus. But oh no, there's 4 of them and they only have 3 pearls. Grover decides to stay because he is the protector. So they each step on their pearl and they are whisked away to Mount Olympus. But they're not on Mount Olympus, they're on the Empire State Building. But Percy's mom knows that through that door over there is Mount Olympus. How does she know that? Did Poseidon tell her? Why would he tell her that? That's weird. And they're really in a time crunch, so it's a good thing that no one's gonna drop in. Oh, come on! So here comes Luke with Daddy's flying shoes. He exposits on how he wants to make the gods pay, how he wants the human race to be above the gods, and so if they're all fighting, then humans will be able to, like, rise up. But you can't kill gods. So you would have to, like, trap them or distract them. But if they're fighting each other, they're going to use the earth as a battleground, so that doesn't make any sense. He's supposed to like team up with Hades to make that happen. In the book, Hades isn't even the bad guy. He also has some stuff stolen, and it turns out that the one who is the like big bad is Kronos. Kronos is able to manipulate different entities, including gods, to try to get out of Tartarus.
Tartarus.
And so he wanted the lightning bolt to, I guess, break out of prison. So Luke kicks Percy square in the chest and picks up the lightning bolt. So he shoots them with lightning bolts about as accurate as a stormtrooper. In the book, the lightning bolt also had the power of like a neutron bomb. So this would have just blown up the Empire State Building and basically everything in a half-mile radius. So he flies up to the top of the needle, and then Percy meets him up there and they start fighting, but they have this nice little cuddle moment. Luke chases Percy through a thankfully open concept building. So Percy gets the drop on him, and so Luke drops the lightning bolt. Percy picks it back up, but Luke grabs a sword from his butt. No, but seriously, where did that sword come from? He throws it at Percy and cuts the wings off of his shoes. So he goes a-plummeting down. So Percy is falling and then hits the ground. He drops the sword, he drops the bolt. Luke picks up the bolt. Luckily, they're near 10 random water silos that Percy grabs the water and he drowns Luke. Oh no, Luke looks okay. So Percy creates a trident out of the water and throws it at Luke and sends him barreling off the roof, essentially to his death. He knocks the shoes off his feet. In the book, Luke fully gets away, so I don't know how they're going to resolve that in the second movie, but then again, I doubt that they really care. So Percy comes back to the Empire State Building. I guess he put Luke's shoes on. Look, good thing that they're the same size feet. And they go into the entrance to Olympus. So here we are at Mount Olympus. Mom can't go in, so Percy and Annabeth go in. And so we see all these gods in this agora, throne room, situation room, whatever. All the gods are wearing this like plate mail, but in the book, Zeus is wearing this like Armani suit and Poseidon is kind of dressed all in Tommy Bahama. And Zeus basically says that time has run out. It's time to start the war. But here comes Percy, little Percy. Here comes little Percy with the lightning bolt. And he throws it to Zeus. And Zeus applauds him for betraying his father. Percy decides to take a moment to chastise all the gods, telling them that Luke was very upset with all of you and he thought that all of you didn't treat him very nice and he got all of you to fight each other, which just goes to show it's very like after school special-y. It's so bizarre. And like gods wouldn't allow a human to talk to them like this, but why did we do any of this, really? So Zeus decides not to wage war. Athena tells Annabeth that she's proud of her. Oh. So Percy asks if Zeus can get Grover out of Hades as like a reward, and he grants it. So Zeus prohibits the other gods from seeing their kids for we don't know what reason. So Poseidon begs Zeus to let him talk to his son, and Zeus obliges. Yeah, no, in the book, there's none of that. Poseidon is super distant. He even tells Percy that he regrets having a child. And Percy actually finds that more genuine than saying, oh, I wish I could have been there. So Poseidon goes to Percy and there's this cats in the cradle moment. He's all like, oh, Zeus forbade us. I would have been there. Just because you didn't see me doesn't mean I wasn't there. In the cats in the cradle with the silver spoon.
Cat's in the cradle, but don't listen to it now.
I'm gonna go listen to it.
I don't know, I feel like some staff writer was going through something when they wrote this speech. So flash forward, Annabeth has gone ahead back to camp and Percy and his mom are right outside the gate. And she tells him that she's broken up with Gabe. I don't know how or when. When and how did you do that? You were in Hades this whole time.
You sneeze like a kitten.
So she says that she kicked Gabe out and that he belongs in Camp Half-Blood. Okay, so he goes inside and almost gets hit by a bunch of archers again. What did you learn, Percy? Nothing, apparently. But then he gets saved by Grover, and he's got horns. So in the book, Grover is a protector because he wants to be what they call a searcher. Essentially, Pan went missing centuries ago and all the satyrs go off to try to find him and nobody ever has. So he wanted a searcher's license and that's what he gets at the end of this book. Not horns, he already had the horns. So they go and meet up with Annabeth and there is some flirting and they start to spar. The movie kind of ends like Rocky 2, where like they both go to like punch each other. It's the eye of the tiger, it's the etc. But wait, there's more. At the end of the credits, Gabe is picking up his stuff to move out of the house and mom, I forget her name, Sarah goes out and Gabe starts to look around the house and he's like, ugh, I need a beer. So he goes to open the fridge, but there is a sign on it saying, do not open Percy. And there's a lock. So he breaks the lock and opens the fridge and inside is Medusa's head, and he turns to stone. In the book, the mom fully kills him with the head. She makes the decision to get him turned to stone and then sells his corpse as a statue. And that is the end of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. Thank the gods. I had to watch this movie in shifts. It was a frickin' slog. This movie took a compelling, informative, interesting coming-of-age story and turned it into a watered-down saccharine mess that isn't even good enough to be a popcorn movie because it's too long. I don't know what makes me the most mad about this movie, but I will say the depiction of Hades as like this demon, devil, Lucifer type character, I think, is the most egregious for me, because the whole point of this story was that it was moving away from the Christian ideals of deities. The acting is stiff, wooden, or hammy. There was no in between. The only actor that I enjoyed was the guy who played Grover. His performance was actually passable. Uma Thurman is a great actor. I don't know how she ended up being this campy. Who's the director? Chris Columbus. Where have I heard that before? Wait, he directed the Thursday Murder Club. I did an episode on the Thursday Murder Club. I loved it. I guess he learned his lesson after this, because yikes. I mean, okay, so maybe it's not his fault, but who's the writer? Rick Riordan was one of the writers? What happened, you guys? What happened? That's all I got. Thank you all for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. It is free. Please feel free to send my channel to any of your friends who like movies, books, queer stuff, makeup tutorials, and weirdos. Check out my socials, see what I'm doing on there. If you want to support me financially, feel free to go onto my Linktree and buy me a coffee. I missed 2 weeks ago because it was Passover/Easter, but I plan on continuing on going weekly, so I will see you next week. I filmed this in advance, so I have no idea whether the weather is good, but let's hope that it is, and we can go out and enjoy it. I'll see you next week, and in the meantime, be queer, read books. Bye. Do, I lost my notes. Boop, boop, I lost my notes. Ow. Do you like Greek mythology? Do you love Greek mythology? Search for sheetish. When I was a young warthog, where are my lashes? Where? Every time. Fuck you. Las Vegas. No, not Las Vegas. Los Angeles. This is so stupid. Okay. He took the shoes from his feet.